Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. At Change.org, we want every petition that's started on the platform to succeed and to win. And that's why we run the coaching program and run these educational webinars from time to time to help make that happen. My name is Carl Harris, and I'm a community manager here at Change.org. I run the coaches program and I run other special projects to help Change.org petition starters to be successful. And with me tonight, I have Garth Davidson. Garth is a professional disruption coach with 15 years of professional HR and coaching experience. Garth lived and worked in the Middle East for over 8 years, and he's currently in Phoenix, Arizona. And Garth, I think, became a coach because he has a passion for immigrant and refugee rights and for the rights of those on the outskirts of society for any reason. Garth is a professionally trained coach who works with clients to use disruption and change to find new opportunities in their lives. And Garth is talking to us tonight about professional coaching and skills that you can take to your petitioners and use straight away to start getting better results. So thank you, Garth, so much for joining us to share some of your expertise tonight. I just want to let people know, like, Garth suggested this session and planned it all, and I really appreciate you being so enthusiastic about sharing your skills.
Oh, thanks, Carl. It's really exciting to be here and to be sharing with the Change community, and it's a great work that you guys are doing. So happy to help out.
We really appreciate it. So before we get started, I just want to let you know about asking questions. So there's going to be plenty of time for questions at the end of the session. If you take a look down the bottom of your Zoom window, there should be a chat icon. You can drop any questions you have into the chat as we go along, and we will answer those at the end when we've got sort of plenty of dedicated time. So, like, as things occur to you, please just go ahead and chat your questions into that box right away. So, Garth, my first question for you is, what exactly is a professional coach, and what is professional coaching?
That's a great question, Carl. Coaching is a process that is about partnering with a client to achieve their specific goals and objectives through the use of coaching skills. Coaching focuses on the client's current situation and their desired future situation. It helps clients identify their visions and goals, as well as clarifying with the specific actions that are needed to bridge the gap between their present situation and their future desired situation. Coaching is a relatively new profession. It really became mainstream in the 90s. And the most well-known professional organization for coaching is the International Coaching Federation, or ICF. The ICF started in 1995, and it sets all the standards for coaching excellence, ethics, as well as accrediting training programs and new coaches. And it also certifies new coaches. And there's over 20,000 members worldwide. Coaching really falls into two main categories. There's business coaching, and then business coaching is about working with organizations either as an internal employee or as an external contractor, and focusing on achievement of the specific organizational goals. And generally, it's directed and paid for by the organization. And then there's life coaching. And life coaches usually work with individuals or sometimes small groups to help people achieve their goals and become more successful. Life coaches work to identify personal visions or goals, clarify the steps required to achieve them, and then works with the clients to take action. Some life coaches focus on relationships, finances, career, or in my case, disruption coaching.
That's great to know. And so what value do people get out of coaching?
Well, coaching is a very powerful process for individuals to achieve results. So coaching provides clients with a safe, non-judgmental environment to explore their potential and overcome barriers. Coaching gives clients honest feedback, creates awareness, provides growth challenges, encouragement, observations, accountability, and support. Now, the ICF has conducted research into coaching and has found that coaching increases productivity at work with a 70% increase in work performance and a 61% increase in improved business management. And it improves personal growth with an 80% greater self-confidence, 73% improved relationships, and 72% improved communication.
Wow. Sounds like it's a really powerful way of helping people achieve results and overcome barriers. We've actually seen in our own coaching program that coach petitions get much better results. They get 3 times as many signatures as uncoached petitions. And the starters of those petitions are more highly motivated. They send more updates to their supporters, and they log in to work on their petitions more often. So we've definitely seen those effects of coaching.
That's great.
What are the skills that your fellow Change.org coaches can use to achieve those kinds of results?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what I'm here to share with everyone. So these are some of the basic coaching skills that every change coach can take away and use with their petitioners. So the first skill I want to talk about are those related to the relationship between the coach and the petitioner. So it's absolutely vital to develop a good rapport between you and your clients based on trust. And the first thing that you would do for that is to initiate the relationship. So initiating the relationship is an ongoing process which occurs the first time you make contact with the client and then continues every time you have an interaction. To initiate the relationship, what you would want to do is listen to your clients to understand what their reality is, understand how they see the world, remove your own judgments and assumptions, and just listen and accept the reality that your client is in. Ways to do this are to find out what your client's overall vision, goal, or purpose is for their petition, ask what the outcome of a particular session will be, and work towards that goal throughout the session, using that as your guide for the coaching. Find out where the client is on that day, as it can change from session to session. Identify any limiting beliefs or barriers which can impact success. And coaching focuses on the client. They are the expert on themselves and their issues. Your job as a coach is to help them identify and develop that, and to be true to their purpose, not to tell them what to do based on your opinions. So I had a client once who I thought I had all figured out. And I went through the first session and I found out I was totally wrong. Now, if I had held on to those beliefs and not been open to their reality, I would have really missed out being there for them. Now, once you've developed, or once you have initiated the relationship and you know where they are on that day, what you need to do is develop the relationship. This ensures that the clients trust you and have a safe place to explore their ideas and passion. So to do this, you want to pay attention to the client's language, perspective, and learning style. Use what works for that individual instead of trying to use a one-size-fits-all approach. Everyone is different and works best in different ways, so try to honor that. The subject for the client's petition is one that is very important to them and has an emotional meaning for them. So find that emotional connection with the client and understand it yourself so that you can be in the same place as your client emotionally. You need to focus on your coaching presence by being attentive, honest, trustworthy, and supportive of the client's needs. Be there for them as a cheerleader and as a mirror. Always support your client fully, but also recognize that there are times where you do need to tell them how it is, and be willing to call your client on something that they're doing that isn't serving them. I have clients who are working on very important subjects, and using empathy has been an incredible way to connect with them and their issues. So I could see their issues both from their perspectives and from the outside. I also hear clients telling themselves stories that aren't helpful about why they can't do things or why things aren't working out for them. And I help them to see the story that they are telling themselves, and you have that light bulb moment come on for them.
I feel like I can remember light bulb moments of my own in those types of coaching relationships.
Yeah.
I can see how, creating a good relationship and establishing that at the beginning can be really important to successful coaching. And I really like the idea of kind of focusing on the petitioner and setting aside your own assumptions to sort of see the world through their eyes. So what are the skills that you use in your work to explore issues with petitioners?
Sure. So there are some communication skills that you can use to explore issues with your clients that are very effective. A lot of these are things that you do on a daily basis without really thinking about them. But with coaching, you want to take them to the next level. So the first skill is listening. So listening is a key skill for a coach. Actively listen to your client and focus on what they're saying, both in words and in meaning. Don't multitask while listening, and fully devote yourself to listening. You'll also want to listen for things like tone of voice, size, and other cues like that. Now, common mistakes when trying to actively listen include taking notes, thinking of what to say next, and creating judgments and assumptions. Release your attachments to being right when listening and just accept what your client is telling you. You also want to use silence as a tool. Give your clients space to work through and express their ideas without jumping in. Using silence helps create a really comfortable space for your petitioner to work within. A great coach really hardly talks at all. Use the 80-20 rule, with 80% listening and 20% talking, and challenge yourself to reduce it even more. When I first started coaching, I would try and take a lot of notes, make sure I kept everything tracked, and come up with questions halfway through listening. But once I stopped doing that, I was able to listen so much more and really become fully engaged because my notes and my thoughts weren't taken away. And that really helped me with connecting with my clients and understanding where they were and what they were trying to achieve. So the next skill is questioning. So questioning is really important, and asking the right question is going to really be there important for getting the right and the best answer for your client. By asking questions, you're encouraging your client to explore their issues with greater focus and introspection. So be comfortable with not knowing. Your client is the expert on themselves, and you will best serve them by removing your own assumptions and biases and seeing the world through your client's eyes. Explore like a child with infinite curiosity. Good questions are open-ended, which ask for greater exploration and keep going deeper to the root. You want to ask questions which identify why this is important to the person, who they are in the situation, and don't just focus on the tasks and mechanics. Identify why and what motivates that client. Ask questions that identify resources that the clients have available to them. So this can include financial, social, political, emotional, factual, or any other resources. Questions are best when used on what you've heard from the client in your client's language and from their own reality. Ask questions which are forward-focused and based on what the client is trying to achieve. Past-looking or present-based questions have a place, but shouldn't be used as your main focus since you're trying to move your client forward with actions. And challenge your client's assumptions and ask that they have a solid understanding of why their opinions are held. You will help pull out the truth with them. So I have found that I can get a lot more out of my clients by taking a moment to really think about my client situations before asking a question. Taking that moment just to think about the question before asking it creates a much more powerful questions and can really lead to those aha moments, and that feels great for everyone. The next main skill is messaging. So messaging is really important because it's about how you're putting things to your clients. If you're giving them an observation, challenge, or feedback, you want that to be accepted and non-judgmental. But at the same time, you want it to be effective and thought-provoking. So the fewer words you use, the better. Keep your messages short and concise. And like questioning, take some time to think through what you're going to say before saying it. You'll save more time and energy for both you and your client by taking just that little bit of time to give the right message in the right way. Uses of metaphors and analogies can be a really powerful way to shift the focus for your client so that they can see the picture of what they're saying. Use their language and focus on what will resonate with them. So personally, I like to ask my clients if I can give them a message. And then after I've given them the message, I confirm with them what they think about the message, because there have been times where I've been way off. I focus on delivering messages that really cut through the story and get right to the core of what my clients are working on. And the last communication skill is to summarize. So listen to your client's words, but don't get caught up in their story. So, sorry, one second. So listen to their words and don't get caught up in their story. It's really important to follow what they've been saying, bring it all together, and put the communication that you've been hearing from them into a concise message for that client so that they can understand what it is that they've said, that you're on the same page with them, and that everything is moving in the right direction to achieve the actions for that coaching session. Sorry, one second.
No worries.
Personally, what I like to do is I like to always summarize to make sure that I'm on the same page as my clients. and just make sure that I hear what they're saying and not just assume. Because there have been plenty of times where I've assumed I've heard their message and they actually meant something else.
That makes sense, and those are really important communication skills. I think things that are really useful to kind of keep in mind, especially when you're coaching, right? Because the communication that you have in the coaching session has a big impact on what your petitioners are able to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another thing that we talk a lot about in coaching is moving people to action. It's all about getting your petition started to do the things that are going to move their petition forward. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of skills from professional coaching that people can use to motivate people to act?
Yeah, sure. Getting our petitioners to take action is really the crux of what we're trying to achieve with coaching. We want our petitioners to take the actions that are needed to get their petitions to be successful. It's important to keep in mind that the actions that are most effective are when they come from the client and not from you. The client needs to initiate the actions for the actions to lead to results. It's like exercise. So a trainer can tell you how to exercise, but unless you actually do it, it's not really going to have any impact. Explore with your client using your communication skills and identify what actions are going to lead them to get the results that they want. Should provide honesty and feedback if you see issues, but you want to make sure you don't tell the client what to do. Actions should be both realistic, but also stretch the client to achieve more. Ask questions which address both those items. And actions are best when they're measurable, time-bound, specific, and achievable. So grand outcomes are great, but there's always a lot of little steps that are needed to achieve that. So focus on those steps. Action plans should be flexible and adjusted based on changes which will inevitably come up. It's best to start taking actions and then change course as needed as you're going. Keep your client from spending too much time over planning and not acting. Planning is important, but it can be overdone. Identify what resources the client has to take actions, and where there's a gap, work on an action plan to fill that gap and be able to start moving forward with taking those actions. And start out with smaller and achievable actions, and that will build your client's confidence and snowball into bigger and more impactful actions. I love it when my clients come up with actions and I can hear the excitement in their voices. It's just so fulfilling to know that the coaching that I'm doing is really moving them forward and driving them to take the actions that they need. And if your clients are taking actions, then your coaching is succeeding. So in addition to actions, you want to make sure that your client is accountable for their actions. So identify who in your client's life will be there to help them keep accountable. This could be petition signers, family, friends, or you as the coach. Hold your client accountable to achieve the actions that they have created. Ask them what has happened from the last session and explore the outcomes of either success or failure. If your client doesn't achieve an action, then that's useful information to explore with them to find out what's missing. It may be that they don't have the right resources or support to achieve their actions, and this is something that can be worked on first. Use coaching as an opportunity to acknowledge your client's success and support them for misses. So my clients usually have family members or friends help hold them accountable, and that's excellent. And I personally find that having external people is even better, though, because the further removed the person is from you as from your client, the better the accountability will be. So it's not as easy to let them off the hook.
You saying that friends and family are more likely to let you off the hook?
Surprisingly so. You know, your friends and family they care about you. They want you to be okay. And sometimes they just say, yeah, don't worry. It's fine.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. Well, thank you for all that information on coaching skills. It's really great to learn a bit about what it is that you do, and I think that there's lots of that information that's really useful for coaches in working with petition starters. I'm interested, though. You know, do you have any advice about how to kind of bring this all together in one conversation? Sure.
So most coaching sessions follow standard structure. So during the session, you want to keep in mind all the skills that you've learned and use them to bring the best out of your clients. So here's what a standard 1-hour session would look like. So the first 5 minutes, you would connect and follow up with from the last session. Next 5 minutes, you want to spend identifying the desired outcomes for the session. Then you want to spend 15 minutes exploring with the client, explore the who, the why, the when and the what, and the hows of whatever their situation is. And then about halfway through, spend 5 minutes or so checking in with the client, making sure that you're on the right path, that you're actually going to achieve the target for that session or adjust as needed. Spend the last 20 minutes continuing to explore with the client. And then the last 10 minutes should be for action steps and accountabilities. So this can, of course, be modified to encompass shorter session or extended for a longer session. My coaching sessions are 45 minutes, and I do 3 a month, which gives my clients 2 weeks at the end of the month to work on some bigger actions. So one of the most important things to do is to spend enough time at the start of the session really understanding where you want to go with the session and what the outcome is the client wants to achieve. Knowing where you're going is a great way to get there.
Great. Well, we have prepared a little example of this. So why don't we run through that and show people how this all comes together? Okay,
great. That would be great. I've been thinking of a petition myself, and I'd love to have you coach me through it using these skills.
That's great. Well, I'm just going to drop into the chat the script for this coaching session, which has alongside it the skills that we're using as we go through. So if you want to take a look at that, you should be able to see that on Google Drive, and you'll be able to sort of see as we go through this, exactly what it is that we're doing as we go along.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started.
Great. Hi, Carl. Thanks for helping me coach my petition to increase bike safety in Phoenix. I ride my bike to work, and I'm really concerned about what I see on the road. In the last year, I've been in 2 minor crashes, and I know that bike safety can be improved in the city.
That sounds like a really great idea, and I can tell it's something that's really important to you. It must have been really scary to get into those crashes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, what are your long-term goals with this petition?
Well, I wanted to ask the city to add additional bike lanes on major roads, improve existing bike lanes, and to make them more usable. I also want the city to educate motorists and cyclists on bike safety, and I'd really love to see some stricter laws in place to protect bikers.
Well, those are really excellent long-term goals, which we can work towards achieving. Thinking about today, what would be a good outcome today? What would a good outcome today look like as a first step to achieving these goals?
Well, I think understanding who I should be targeting the petition at would be a great start. I'm really not sure if it should be delivered to like the city government, the state government, or I don't know, someone else.
Yeah. Well, what do you know right now about each decision maker's ability to influence the changes you're trying to achieve?
Not a lot, actually. The bike lanes are all changed city to city. So my guess is that it would be a city decision. So probably delivering the petition to someone in the city would make sense.
That makes sense. So where does that idea lead you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I could look at the city planning department or the department that maintains the streets. I'll do some research online and figure out what department is responsible for the bike lanes.
That's a really great idea. I'd like to suggest something, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
So what I would suggest is finding out who the head of that department is and who their boss is so that you have a very specific target for the petition. How does that sound?
Oh, that's a great idea. I'd be able to learn about their past decisions too, and then see where I could focus my petition to work best with what they've done in the past, and that's aligned to what I want to achieve.
Yeah, wonderful. Do you feel like we're moving in the right direction to achieve your goal of understanding who to deliver the petition to?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. So in summary, you've clearly identified what your big goals are regarding making biking safer. You've identified the city government as the target decision maker for your petition, and you're going to do some research into exactly what department is responsible and then who heads that department and who that person's boss is. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thanks for the summary. Hearing that also makes me think about who else may be able to influence the decision. I wonder if there's any existing organizations who are working on bike safety issues.
Like who?
Well, maybe like bike clubs. So I see a lot of people out and about cycling, especially on the weekends, and I'm sure they would have interest in having better bike safety. They wouldn't necessarily be the people I'd be delivering the petition to, though. So maybe that's not useful.
Yeah, I wonder if they could be resources for you.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I could talk to them about what they've been experiencing on the road and maybe even get them to help me push the petition out into their communities. Wow, I bet they would all be interested in getting these issues addressed. That would be a smart starting point for getting support.
Fantastic idea. How are you going to do that?
Well, let me see. I know. So I can find out when they're meeting for their rides, and I can go talk to them. I'll tell them what I'm doing and show them the petition and ask them for their support. I bet that they're going to give me some really good stories too, which would support my petition. Everyone on the road wants more safety, and I know from my experiences that it can be dangerous out there. I bet they'd get some really moving stories from them on their experiences, and then it wouldn't just be me and my experience, and that would make the whole petition so much more meaningful and relatable.
That's a really great idea, and it sounds really promising. What I heard is that you're going to identify your petition delivery targets, and then you're going to talk to bike groups in your area to get their support and also their stories. Does that sound right?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So when are you going to take these actions?
Good question. Well, I can do the research online easily this week and find out who I need to target for the petition. I can also research the biking groups in the area to see when they're meeting. So I'll finish my research in the next week and contact the groups to find time to talk to them too.
That sounds excellent. So who's going to keep you accountable to do your research and set up your meetings?
Well, I have a friend who I bike with sometimes, and I'll talk to him and tell him about it. He's a real tell-you-like-it-is kind of guy. So I know he'll not let me off easily if I don't do it. And you know what? I'll tell him that if I don't do it, I'll have to tune up his bike. And that's good motivation.
Your friend should be ideal to keep you accountable. We're just about at the end of our time together. Do you feel like we've accomplished your goal of identifying who will be the target for your petition?
Yeah, that and then some. I really have a really good action plan now on what I'm going to do. I'm going to get right online now and start my research. Thanks, Carl. It's been really helpful.
I'm really glad to have helped. You had some really great ideas today, and I really can't wait to see where this takes your petition. I can see that you're really excited about this.
Yeah, awesome. So same time next week?
That sounds great. Be safe out there on your bike in the meantime.
Thanks. Well, thanks for that, Carl. I really think that demonstrated a lot of the skills that we talked about. You used questions to go deeper into the issues, and then you summarized my insights back to me, and you also used a lot of silence. Did that feel awkward to you?
It didn't really feel awkward to me, but I can imagine that other people might feel awkward doing that.
Yeah, good. Well, it can at first, but you're a natural. I liked how you had me come up with all of the actions and plan for making sure that I was accountable and then following through. It really felt like we finished with some achievable steps towards those big goals.
Yeah, look, as somebody who has been campaigning for a while, sometimes it's hard for me sort of not to offer my opinions or advice about this stuff. But it actually felt like I was able to be more helpful because I was doing more listening and less suggesting.
Well, that's one of the strengths of coaching.
Well, look, that's all that we had prepared. If people have questions from the chat, we can take them now, or people can jump in if you've got questions for me or for Garth.
And I'm just looking at the chat here.
Doesn't look like there's anything anybody has asked already.
Bradley has asked a question. How about when first meeting a client? How do you begin to talk with a client? Okay. So I can grab that one, Carl.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So when you're first meeting with the client, So in professional coaching, what I do is I provide like a free 30-minute session to meet the client, get to know who they are, make sure that there's a good fit between me and the person that I'm working with. If you're not going to, if there's not that chemistry there to have a good relationship, you can have a lot of problems with the coaching. Like I've had some clients who were like really racist or really hateful people, and those are just people that I don't want to work with. So, making sure that you meet with the person, just start exploring what their issues are, start understanding where they are from the beginning is a really good place to start. So something like, hi, great, I saw your petition was about, not having dog races. What's important about that for you? Why is that an issue that you care about? Because that's something that instantly going to be able to talk about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And in the the context of this program, I guess, when you choose a petition starter to work with, you might not know much about them. So really important to check that stuff out at the beginning and make sure that you're a good fit to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Yale had a question. So Yale's question is, how do I help a petitioner who's not very motivated? She needs more exposure to get signatures for her petition, and she believes Change.org deals with this.
Okay. Well, in terms of, I can certainly talk the motivation part.
Yeah, and I can talk about how Change.org may or may not deal with exposure for petition as well.
Sounds good. So motivation can be really hard for people. Often what I find is that the motivation is lacking for a number of reasons. One, the person has lost their emotional connection with the issue. So they think it's important. It was important to them at one point, and they've just kind of lost that why. So explore that with them, explore the why with them. Another major reason that actions don't happen is that often that there's a gap between what they want to achieve and their ability to do so. So they don't have the resources that are available to them. They don't have the information they need to make decisions. They don't have financial resources. These are things that will prevent them from moving forward. And they'll say, well, I can't do this because I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have support from loved ones. So explore with them the barriers behind what's keeping them from being motivated and taking those actions.
Yeah, and just to kind of field the part of this question that is about Change.org, obviously you are all Change.org fans if you've become a coach and you get our emails in your email inbox. It probably seems like because lots of people sign those petitions that get emailed that a lot of petitions get emailed and get lots of signatures that way. I mean, I can tell you that it's actually like a very small number of petitions that ever get emailed out. And the way that we choose those is based on a lot of testing of petitions to list. So all we can do is show petitions to people who might be interested in them. So we test petitions, we send them out to kind of small sample groups. And if people are interested in them, if people want to sign them, they can be shown to more people. But it's sort of 1 in 1,000 petitions that get started on Change.org will ever be emailed. So it's really it's really up to petition starters to do everything that they can to get their petition out there and to show it to people and ask them to sign. And there's lots of things you can do to kind of make that happen. I mean, I think the other thing that people are often a bit surprised by about Change.org is that you sometimes don't need as many petitions as you might think to win something. The average petition that's a victory on Change.org is actually has 200 signatures. It's not a huge number of signatures, and things can win with that amount of signatures or more. So it is really achievable actually in many cases to get the kind of numbers of signatures that you need to win on lots and lots of issues. Yeah, I think people see petitions with 100,000 signatures and and they think that that's what they need to win, and that's not true for every issue. You know, some you do need lots of signatures, but very, very many you don't need as many as that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and a good thing for coaches to know and be able to talk about. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you see those petitions with hundreds of thousands, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, and you know, if your target is the the US federal government or you know, a big target that gets lots of public pressure, then you know, maybe that's what you need. But if your target is a local target or a school or a local government or things like that, you know, they're often much less used to getting petitions and public pressure, and so you can win with lots fewer signatures.
Great to know.
Yeah, well, you're very welcome, Yale. Thank you for your question. And Sylvia, you're absolutely right that it would be great if more of our coaches knew about those kind of data points about numbers of signatures and how the Change.org email program works. Does anybody else have any other questions? We'd be very happy to answer anything that you're wondering about. If not, we might finish up and let people go early. Look, oh, here we go. Sylvia, what has surprised you the most about your work as a coach? I assume that one's for Garth.
I think that's for you, Carl. Sure. You know, I think the thing that surprised me most about being a coach was learning how to be comfortable with not knowing. That was something that really kind of was a revolutionary idea for me. So I assumed, you know, you're going in, you're going to be a coach, you're going to help people, you're going to tell them what they can do to move forward and stuff. But it's really empowering and powerful as well to just go in, listen to somebody, go in without assumptions, and just find out where they're at, what it is that's important to them without letting your own story get involved. So that's probably the thing that surprised me most.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for your question, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Look, if there aren't any other questions, we can finish up a little early. I want to thank you so much, Garth, for all your hard work on this. I really was so pleased that you offered to run this session, and you know, all your hard work putting it together and bringing the content together has been just fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed delivering as much as we enjoyed being in it.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks so much.
And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Sure. And just one last thing I want to say, if anybody is interested in finding out more about coaching or getting in touch with me, you can find me on my website at www.disruptioncoaching.com. You can email me at garth@disruptioncoaching.com. Or if you're a change coach, just message me and let me know that you are.
That's great. And we'll be posting the video of this session as well afterwards, and we'll make sure that we post your details as well, Garth, so people can get in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.